The space station hung silent in the darkness between human territory and the Valkyrie lands. Inside the metal corridors, Lieutenant Jake Morrison stood waiting. His blue uniform was clean and pressed. His boots shined under the bright lights. He did not know why Commander Patricia Wells had called him here, but he knew it was important. The door opened and Patricia walked in. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked at Jake for a long moment before speaking. At ease, Lieutenant, what I am about to tell you is a secret, a big secret. Jake relaxed but stayed alert. I understand, Commander. Patricia touched a button and a picture appeared in the air. It showed a tall alien with blue and green scales covering her body. She had 4 eyes on her face, one above the other. Her neck was long and graceful. This is Queen Sir. She rules the Valkyrie people. She has agreed to come to a peace meeting with our leaders. Jake studied the image carefully. The Valkyrie were known across the galaxy as proud warriors. They followed strict rules about honor and respect. Working with them would not be easy. This is good news, Commander Jake said. Yes, but there is a problem. Patricia's face grew serious. The Queen's guards do not trust humans. They think we are weak. They have asked us to send only one guard, one human to work with their whole security team. That guard will be you. Jake felt surprised but did not show it. Why did you choose me, Commander? You have been on 3 frontier stations. You speak 4 alien languages. You stay calm when things go bad. And according to your files, you do not get scared by titles or royalty. Patricia looked him in the eye. The Valkyrie guards will not listen to you. They will not treat you as their equal. Can you handle that? I will do whatever is needed to protect the Queen and help the peace talks succeed, Jake said firmly. Good answer. You leave in 6 hours. The trip to Frontier Station took 3 days. Jake spent every hour studying. He read about Valkyrie customs. He learned about their honor system. He studied the political problems that made this meeting necessary. The Valkyrie controlled 17 star systems. Humans wanted mining rights in areas the Valkyrie also claimed. The tension between the 2 peoples had grown worse each year. When his ship finally arrived at Frontier Station, guards took Jake to a private hangar. A beautiful alien shuttle sat there, its surface shining with strange lights. 6 Valkyrie guards came out first. Each stood over 7 feet tall. They wore armor that seemed to glow from within. The captain of these guards walked toward Jake. His scales were dark green with scars across his face and arms. His 4 eyes looked at Jake with clear disgust. You are the human. His voice came out as a deep growl through his translator device. Lieutenant Jake Morrison. I am assigned to protect Queen Wreath. The captain's eyes narrowed. I am Captain Kelthris. Listen well, mammal. The Queen's safety is our duty. You are here only because our treaty says we must accept you. Stay out of our way. Before Jake could answer, Queen Sereth came down from the shuttle. She moved like water, flowing, smooth and graceful. Her robes were made of fabric that changed colors as she walked. Even Captain Kelthris stood straighter when she appeared. Lieutenant Morrison, she said. Her voice was clear and pleasant to hear. I appreciate your service. I understand your people chose you carefully for this task. Jake bowed the way the Valkyrie did, placing his right hand over his heart. Your Majesty, it is an honor to serve. Something changed in her eyes. Jake could not read what it meant. Walk with me, Lieutenant. I wish to see this station before our talks begin tomorrow. The group moved through the station corridors. The 6 Valkyrie guards formed a tight circle around the Queen. They put Jake at the back of the group, the least important position. Jake did not complain. Instead, he watched everything. He memorized the layout. He noted every door and window. He checked where the emergency exits were located. This was neutral territory, which made it dangerous. Some humans hated some Valkyrie hated humans. Both sides had groups that wanted the peace talks to fail. Tell me, Lieutenant, the Queen said suddenly. Do you believe this meeting will succeed? Captain Kelthris turned his head and glared at Jake. The message was clear. Do not speak to the Queen. But she had asked him a direct question. I believe both our peoples are tired of fighting, Your Majesty. Whether that is enough, we will have to wait and see. An honest answer. The Queen seemed pleased. Most humans I have met speak only in pretty words that mean nothing. You are different. I am a soldier, not a politician, Your Majesty. Yes, I can see that. She stopped at a large window that looked out at the stars. Do you know what my guards think of you, Lieutenant Morrison? I can guess, Your Majesty. They believe humans are weak, that you have no discipline, that you are cowards. She turned to face him. I hope you will prove them wrong. Jake met her gaze steadily. I will do my best, Your Majesty. The Queen studied him with all 4 eyes. Then she nodded once and continued walking. They reached the diplomatic quarters an hour later. The rooms were large and fancy, designed to make alien guests comfortable. The Queen would stay in the biggest suite at the end of a long hallway. Jake's room was small and plain, located near the main entrance. As the Queen entered her chambers, Captain Kelthris blocked Jake's path. "Human, I will say this once. You are not wanted here. You are not needed here. My warriors are the best in the Valkyrie fleet. We have protected the royal family for generations. We do not need some weak mammal getting in our way." "I understand your feelings, Captain," Jake said calmly. "But I have my orders. I will follow them, then stay in your room. Do not embarrass yourself by trying to do our job." Kelthrish turned and walked away. The other guards followed him, leaving Jake alone in the corridor. Jake went to his room and unpacked his gear. His rifle was standard military issue. His armor was light but strong. His comm device connected him to station security and his commanders. He checked each piece of equipment carefully. Then he pulled up a map of the station on his datapad. He marked every route to the Queen's quarters. He noted which areas had good cover. He identified weak points in the station's security. Years of training had taught him to always be prepared. A message appeared on his screen. It was from Patricia. "Morrison, initial reports look good. The Queen seems to trust you. Keep up the good work, and watch your back. We have intelligence suggesting extremist groups on both sides want to disrupt the talks. Stay alert." Jake typed back a quick reply. "Understood, Commander. Will maintain vigilance." He looked at the time. The first day of negotiations would start in 10 hours. He needed rest, but first he would do a security sweep of the area. The Valkyrie guards might not want his help, but Jake had never failed a mission yet. He was not about to start now. As he walked the corridors, checking locks and cameras, Jake thought about what the Queen had said. She hoped he would prove the Valkyrie guards wrong about humans. She wanted him to show them that humans could be strong and brave and loyal. Jake touched the badge on his uniform. It showed the symbol of Earth in the human fleet. He came from a small planet in a crowded galaxy. The Valkyrie had been traveling the stars for thousands of years, while humans were still learning to build cities. But humans had something special. They never gave up. They faced impossible odds and kept fighting. They protected those who needed protection, no matter the cost. Tomorrow the peace talks would begin. Tomorrow Jake would stand guard while politicians argued about mines and treaties and borders. It would probably be boring, but if something went wrong, if danger came for the Queen, Jake would be ready. He would show Captain Kelthris and all the other Valkyrie guards what a human soldier could do. He would not let them down. He would not let the Queen down. And he would not let his people down. That was his duty. And Jake Morrison always did his duty. The first evening passed quietly. The peace talks would not start until morning, giving everyone time to settle in. Jake spent the time walking through the station, learning every hallway and room. The Valkyrie guards watched him but said nothing. They made it clear they did not want him around, but they did not try to stop him either. As the station's lights dimmed to simulate night, Jake took his position outside the Queen's chambers. 2 Valkyrie guards stood at the main door. They ignored him completely, as if he did not exist. Captain Kelthris appeared an hour later with 2 more guards. His scales had darkened to almost black, which Jake had learned meant the Valkyrie was angry. "You do not need to stand watch, human. My warriors are more than enough to protect the Queen. I am not questioning your abilities, Captain," Jake replied evenly. "But I have my orders. Then go to your room and sleep. You dishonor us by standing here as if we cannot do our job." Jake did not move. "With respect, Captain, my orders come from my commander and from the treaty both our governments signed. I will stay at my post." Kelthris's 4 eyes blazed with anger. His hand moved toward the weapon at his side. For a moment Jake thought the alien might attack him, but then Kelthris turned sharply and walked away, his boots echoing in the hallway. "You make a mistake, human," one of the other guards said quietly. "The captain does not forget insults." "I meant no insult," Jake said. "I am just doing my job." The guard said nothing more. The hours passed slowly. Valkyrie guards changed shifts every 3 hours. They moved with military precision, each knowing exactly what to do. Jake had to admit they were good at their work. But he stayed alert anyway, watching his datapad for any problems. At 3 in the morning, something caught his attention. A maintenance request had been filed for the environmental systems in the royal quarters. The work was scheduled to happen right now, immediately. Jake frowned. That seemed strange. Why do maintenance in the middle of the night when important guests were sleeping? He checked the official station logs. No maintenance was scheduled for this area. Nothing at all. Jake's heart began to beat faster. Someone was using fake credentials to access the environmental controls. That could mean only one thing. Someone wanted to hurt the Queen. He opened a secure channel to station security. "This is Lieutenant Morrison. I need you to check a maintenance order for Sector 7 right now." There was a pause. Then a voice replied, "Checking now, Lieutenant. Wait one moment." The seconds felt like hours. Jake kept watching his datapad, seeing the fake maintenance request move through the system toward approval. "Lieutenant Morrison, we have no maintenance scheduled for that sector tonight. Someone is using false authorization. Lock down the environmental system now," Jake ordered, "and send security to this location immediately." Locking down. "Security team on the way." Jake ran to the Valkyrie guards at the Queen's door. A female warrior named Sethris stood there with another guard. "We have a security problem. Someone is trying to access the environmental controls. They might pump poison gas into this section. You need to move the Queen to safety now." Sethris looked at him coldly. "The station's problems do not concern us. Human, they concern you. If poison gas fills these hallways," Jake snapped, his voice hard, "move the Queen. Now." Sethris hesitated. Then she spoke quickly into her communication device in the Valkyrie language. A moment later, Captain Kelthrus burst out of a nearby room. "What is happening?" he demanded. Jake quickly explained. Kelthrus's eyes went wide for just a second. "You are certain of this?" "Station security is checking now, but we cannot take chances. We need to move the Queen immediately." An alarm suddenly screamed through the corridors. Red emergency lights began flashing. A mechanical voice spoke loudly. "Environmental contamination detected. Evacuate Sector 7 East immediately." "This is not a drill." Kelthrus did not waste time arguing. He shouted orders in his own language. Within seconds, 4 warriors surrounded the Queen's door while the others prepared an escape route. Queen Sereth came out of her chambers. Despite the chaos and danger, she looked calm and composed. "What is happening?" "Possible attack, Your Majesty," Kelthrus reported. "We must move you to safety." Her 4 eyes found Jake. The lieutenant discovered this. "Yes, Your Majesty," Kelthrus admitted, though his voice sounded reluctant. The evacuation was fast and professional. The Valkyrie guards formed a protective formation around the Queen and moved through the corridors with military precision. Jake took the rear position, his weapon drawn and ready. His eyes scanned every doorway and corner for threats. Station security met them at a checkpoint. The security chief was a middle-aged man with worry on his face. The contamination was stopped before it spread. Someone tried to pump chlorine gas into the ventilation system. They failed, but whoever did this knew what they were doing. They had access to secure systems. "Extremists," Queen Sereth said quietly, "from your people or mine, it does not matter. They want to stop the peace talks before they begin." Jake noticed Captain Kelthrus looking at him differently now. Not with respect exactly, but the contempt was gone from his eyes. The guard captain had seen Jake's quick thinking stop a possible disaster. They moved the Queen to a secure bunker deep inside the station's core. The room was small and plain, with metal walls and simple furniture. It was nothing like the fancy diplomatic quarters, but it was safe. "We will remain here until station security finishes their investigation," Kelthrus announced. "Triple guard shifts. Everyone stays alert." The Queen sat down on a plain bench, arranging her robes around her. "Lieutenant Morrison, come here." Jake stepped forward and bowed. "Your Majesty, you saved my life tonight," she said simply. "I was doing my job, Your Majesty." "Perhaps, but you have my gratitude." She studied him carefully with all 4 eyes. "Tell me, do you have family, Lieutenant? People who wait for you when your work is done?" The personal question surprised Jake. "My parents, Your Majesty. They live on Earth, and I have a sister on Mars." "You are far from home. Service requires it, Your Majesty." She seemed to think about this. "Among my people, warriors who save a royal life are given a place in the honor halls. Their names are remembered forever. What does your culture give you?" "The satisfaction of doing my duty," Jake answered honestly. For the first time, Queen Sereth's face showed something that might have been a smile. "Perhaps humans are not so different from Valkyrie after all." Lieutenant Morrison, Captain Kelthrus, approached them. He dropped to one knee before the Queen, his head bowed low. "Your Majesty, I must speak." "Rise, Kelthrus. Speak freely." The captain stood but kept his eyes lowered. "I was wrong about the human. He saw a danger my warriors missed. His quick action saved your life." Kelthrus paused, then forced out the next words. "He has earned my respect." "I am pleased to hear that, Captain." The Queen looked between Kelthrus and Jake. "The purpose of this summit is to help our peoples understand each other better. Perhaps we are already succeeding." The rest of the night passed without incident. Station security caught 3 humans who had planned the attack. They belonged to a group that hated all aliens and wanted the war to continue. They would face trial for terrorism and attempted murder. As morning came, the station began returning to normal. The Queen was moved back to her diplomatic quarters, though security was now much tighter. Jake returned to his small room and finally allowed himself to feel tired. His datapad beeped with a message from Commander Patricia Morrison. "Excellent work. You may have just saved this entire summit. The Queen has personally thanked our government for your service. Keep it up." Jake smiled slightly and set the datapad aside. He lay down on his bed, but sleep did not come easily. His mind kept going over the events of the night. Someone had tried to kill the Queen. They had failed this time, but would they try again? Jake knew the answer was yes. There were people on both sides who wanted the peace talks to fail. Some feared change. Some hated the other species. Some had lost family in the long conflict and wanted revenge, not peace. The next few days would be dangerous, but Jake would be ready. He had proven himself to Captain Kelthris and the other Valkyrie guards. They would still not treat him as an equal, but at least now they would listen when he spoke, and more importantly, he had earned Queen Sereth's trust. She had looked him in the eye and called him different from other humans. She had suggested that humans and Valkyrie might not be so different after all. That gave Jake hope. If the Queen could see past the differences between their species, maybe others could too. Maybe this summit really would bring peace. Jake finally closed his eyes and slept, his weapon within easy reach on the table beside his bed. The formal peace talks began 2 days after the attack. Station security had worked without rest to make the place safe. They added more guards, installed new scanners, and checked every person who entered the conference areas. The 3 humans who tried to kill the Queen were locked up, but everyone knew more danger might be waiting. The summit took place in the station's grand conference hall. The room was huge, with high ceilings and rows of seats arranged in circles. Queen Sereth sat at the main table with Ambassador Richard Cole, a skilled human diplomat who had spent 20 years working with alien species. Other representatives from both governments filled the surrounding seats. Above them, viewing galleries held observers from both peoples who wanted to watch history being made. Jake stood along the wall with other security personnel. The Valkyrie guards stayed close to the Queen, but Captain Kelthris had made a change. He had left a space in their formation, a position clearly meant for Jake if needed. It was a small thing, but it showed that the Valkyrie captain now saw Jake differently. The first day was mostly ceremony. Leaders gave speeches about hope and peace. They spoke carefully, choosing every word to avoid causing problems. Jake found the diplomatic language exhausting to listen to, but he never stopped watching. His eyes moved constantly across the viewing galleries, checking faces and body language. He monitored security feeds on his datapad. He kept track of everyone who came in or went out. During a break, Ambassador Cole walked over to him. "Lieutenant Morrison, I wanted to thank you personally for what you did 2 nights ago. If that attack had worked, just doing my job," Sir Jake replied. "Maybe so, but you have made an impression. Queen Sereth asked specifically that you remain on her security detail for the whole summit." Cole lowered his voice. "Between you and me, Lieutenant, I think you have earned more respect from those Valkyrie guards in 3 days than most humans have managed in 3 years. The afternoon session became more difficult. The topic was mining rights in the Tertius Belt, a region of space that both sides claimed. Both governments wanted the valuable minerals there. Both had economic interests worth billions of credits. The debate grew heated. Voices rose. Translators worked hard to keep up with the fast exchanges. Jake noticed the tension in the room increasing. The people in the viewing galleries began to murmur and shift in their seats. He opened his comm channel. "Security, this is Morrison. The crowd is getting restless. You should pay extra attention to the galleries." "Copy that, Morrison. We are watching." Then someone in the gallery shouted. Jake's head snapped up. A human man in regular clothes was standing, pointing at Queen Sereth. "Traitor, you sell out humanity for these monsters." Security moved immediately, but the damage was done. More voices joined the first man. Both humans and Valkyrie began shouting accusations and insults. The careful diplomatic atmosphere shattered like glass. Queen Sereth rose from her seat. Her 4 eyes scanned the chaos around her. Jake saw something unexpected on her face. Not fear, but deep sadness. "Enough." Her voice cut through the noise. The room's speakers made her voice loud enough that everyone could hear. "I will not allow hatred to destroy what we are trying to build here." The room fell silent. Even the angry protesters seemed shocked by her powerful presence. "We have all lost people in this conflict," she continued. "Valkyrie warriors and human soldiers. Civilians caught in battles they did not start. Children who will never know their parents. Her voice carried real emotion now. But we have a choice. We can continue this cycle of death, or we can be brave enough to make a new path forward. Ambassador Cole stood as well. Her Majesty speaks the truth. We are here because both our peoples are tired of war. Yes, we have differences to work out. Yes, we will have to make compromises that satisfy no one completely. But the alternative is to keep fighting until we destroy each other. That is unacceptable. Slowly, order returned to the hall. Security removed the loudest protesters from the galleries. The negotiations started again, though the mood remained tense. That evening, as Jake walked the corridors checking security, Queen Sarith sent word that she wanted to speak with him. Captain Kelthris met him outside the Queen's chambers. The Queen wishes to speak with you. Human, Kelthris said. His tone was not hostile anymore, just formal. I will be present during the conversation. Of course, Jake agreed. The Queen's chamber was beautiful. Strange plants from the Valkyrie homeworld grew in special containers, giving off soft light. The Queen stood by a window, looking out at the stars beyond. Lieutenant Morrison, today you saw our peoples at their worst, she said, without turning round. The fear, the hatred. Does it make you doubt this summit? Jake thought carefully before answering. I have seen worse, Your Majesty. War brings out uglier things than angry words. Yes, I have seen war too. She finally turned to face him. Do you know how I became queen, Lieutenant? I know you inherited the throne 5 years ago, Your Majesty. My father was killed by extremists who opposed his wish for peace with humans. My older brother died in a border fight 3 months later. The crown came to me covered in blood. Her 4 eyes closed one by one, showing grief. I swore on their graves that I would end this conflict. That is why I am here, despite the danger, despite the protests from my own advisors. Jake felt unexpected sympathy. This was not just a ceremonial ruler. Queen Sarith was a leader who had lost as much to the fighting as anyone. Your Majesty, for what it is worth, I believe you will succeed, he said. Because you must believe it for your job, or because you truly see a way forward. Both, Jake admitted. We are not that different, your people and mine. We both value honor, loyalty, and courage. If we can build on what we have in common, perhaps. She studied him carefully with all 4 eyes. You are an interesting human, Lieutenant Morrison. Most of your kind see me as a strange curiosity or a dangerous alien. You see me as a person. Before Jake could respond, alarms screamed through the station. Explosions shook the walls. Jake's datapad lit up with emergency warnings. Ships were attacking the station. They had Valkyrie markings, but were not part of the official fleet. These were extremists from the Valkyrie side. Fanatics who would rather die than make peace with humans. Your Majesty, we need to move now. Jake pulled out his weapon. Captain Kelthris and his guards burst into the room immediately. They formed a protective circle around the Queen without needing orders. Kelthris spoke rapidly into his comm device, coordinating with station security and the Valkyrie warships nearby. This way, Jake led them toward the emergency evacuation routes he had memorized. The Queen moved quickly, despite her formal robes. Her natural grace let her keep pace with the warriors. An explosion tore through the corridor ahead. Fire and twisted metal blocked their path. Jake spun around, already calculating another route. Back the way we came, secondary exit through the maintenance section. They had barely turned when the station's communication system crackled with a terrible message. All personnel, this is Station Command. The attackers have taken the central core. They are demanding we surrender Queen Sarith or they will destroy the station. We have 15 minutes. Jake saw Captain Kelthris freeze. The guard captain's scales turned pale. Jake understood what was happening. Kelthris was weighing his oath to protect the Queen against his duty to his people. If thousands would die unless they gave up one life. Captain Kelthris, Queen Sarith said quietly. Her voice was calm. I understand, Your Majesty. Kelthris could barely speak. I have always known this might happen. She looked at her guards one by one. You must think of our people. The warriors on the ships. The civilians on this station. My life is not worth more than theirs. Jake saw the shame and pain on Kelthris's face. The other guards looked to their captain, waiting for orders they all knew must come. Forgive me, Your Majesty, Kelthris whispered. Then he spoke to his guards in their own language. The Valkyrie warriors began to withdraw. They did not run. They were too disciplined for that. But they moved away, leaving their queen behind. Within seconds, only 2 remained. Then 1. Then none. Jake stood alone with Queen Sarith in the smoke-filled corridor. Lieutenant Morrison, she said calmly, you should go to... There is no shame in choosing life over a meaningless death. Jake checked his weapon and positioned himself between the Queen and the direction the enemy would come from. With respect, Your Majesty, I do not leave my post. You will die maybe, but they will have to go through me first. Queen Sarith looked at him for a long moment. Then she moved to stand beside him instead of behind him. If we are to die, Lieutenant, then we die as equals. Your Majesty, please. You stood when my own guards ran away. I will not hide behind you like a coward. Jake wanted to argue with the Queen, but there was no time. He could hear footsteps coming closer, heavy boots on metal floors, multiple enemies approaching fast. Can you fight? He asked. I am of royal blood, Lieutenant. We learned combat from childhood. She pulled a small energy weapon from inside her robes. I simply prefer not to need such skills. The first attackers came around the corner, for Valkyrie warriors in combat armor, their weapons raised and ready. Jake recognized them immediately. These were professional soldiers, not random extremists. Stand aside, human, the lead warrior commanded. This does not concern you. I am afraid I cannot do that, Jake replied. His weapon stayed steady in his hands. We do not wish to kill you. Our fight is with the traitor Queen who would sell our people to humans for peace. She is trying to save your people, Jake shot back. And mine. The only traitors I see are the ones pointing guns at her. The warrior's eyes narrowed behind his helmet. Last warning, human, step aside. Jake's finger moved to the trigger. No. The corridor exploded with weapons fire. Jake dove left, shooting as he moved. His first shot hit one attacker in the shoulder, spinning the warrior around. Queen Sarith's weapon fired with a sharp crack, and another attacker fell to the ground. But there were too many enemies. Jake felt something slam into his side. A kinetic round hit him hard. His armor stopped most of the impact, but pain exploded through his ribs. He stumbled, and in that moment, one of the attackers rushed forward. The Valkyrie warrior was huge, easily 7 feet of pure muscle and training. Jake barely got his weapon up in time to block the strike that would have crushed his skull. They crashed together, grappling for control. Jake knew he was weaker than the alien. Raw strength alone would not win this fight, but humans did not win through strength alone. They won through determination and clever tactics. Jake used the warrior's own momentum against him. He twisted hard and drove his elbow into a weak spot in the alien's armor. The warrior grunted in pain. Jake followed up fast, pulling out his combat knife and driving it into the joints of the warrior's leg armor. The warrior collapsed with a cry. Jake spun around to see Queen Sarith fighting another attacker. She moved like water, flowing and graceful but deadly effective. As he watched, she disarmed her opponent with a move that seemed impossible. Then she struck with her weapon at close range. The attacker fell. The two remaining attackers hesitated. They had expected an easy target. Instead, they found coordinated resistance from a skilled human soldier and a queen who could fight like a warrior. Fall back, their leader ordered. We need to regroup and ... The walls suddenly shook with a different kind of explosion. Jake's comm unit came alive with static and then a familiar voice. It was Captain Kelthris Morrison. The station's marines have engaged the attackers. We are pushing them back. Where is the Queen? Environmental section, Corridor 712. Jake gasped. Pain from his injured ribs made it hard to breathe. She is alive. We are holding our position. We are coming to you now. Hold on, human. The remaining attackers heard the transmission too. They knew their time had run out. For a moment Jake thought they might try one final desperate assault, but then they turned and ran, disappearing into the smoke and chaos. Jake lowered his weapon. Then he immediately checked on Queen Sarith. Your Majesty, are you hurt? Minor wounds only. She was breathing hard. Her beautiful robes were torn and stained with blood, both her own and from her enemies. You fought well, Lieutenant Morrison. So did you, Your Majesty. Jake managed a pained smile despite his injured ribs. Where did you learn to fight like that? I told you. Royal training. She looked down the corridor where her guards had abandoned her. Her expression was impossible to read, but skills in combat mean nothing without the courage to use them. You showed true courage today, Lieutenant. Real courage. I was just doing my job. Do not make what you did seem small, she interrupted firmly. My own guards left me to die. You, a human they considered weak and inferior, stayed and fought beside me. That means something, Lieutenant Morrison. To me personally, and to the future of our peoples. The sound of running boots announced the arrival of Captain Kelthris and his warriors. The guard captain stopped suddenly when he saw the sea. Dead and wounded enemies lay on the floor. Scorch marks from weapons fire covered the walls, and his queen stood tall beside the human lieutenant, both of them bloodied but alive. Kelthris dropped to one knee, his head bowed low in shame. Your Majesty, I have no words to express my dishonor. I failed you completely. Queen Sarith stepped forward. She placed her hand on the guard captain's shoulder. You made an impossible choice, Kelthris. I do not blame you for it, she gestured toward Jake. But this human showed us what true loyalty means. Perhaps we Valkyrie have something to learn from humanity after all. More security forces arrived, both human and Valkyrie. They secured the area and began treating the wounded. Medical staff rushed to Jake and the Queen, but both refused treatment until the situation was fully under control. Station security reported that the attack had been stopped. Valkyrie warships loyal to the Queen had destroyed or captured the extremist ships. Ground forces had retaken the central core. 17 people were dead and dozens wounded, but the station was secure again. Ambassador Cole found Jake an hour later. The diplomat looked exhausted and worried. Lieutenant Morrison, the medical staff tells me you have 3 broken ribs and should be in the hospital. I will go soon, sir, Jake said. I need to make sure the Queen is safe first. She is safe. Captain Kelthris has triple guards around her now. Cole looked at Jake with respect in his eyes. What you did today, ... Lieutenant, you may have saved this entire peace process. If the Queen had died, the war would have continued for another generation at least. I just did what any soldier would do, sir. No. Cole shook his head firmly. Most soldiers would have followed the Valkyrie guards. They had good reasons to leave. Thousands of lives were at stake. You stayed anyway, knowing you would probably die. That takes something special. Jake did not know what to say to that. He had never thought of himself as special. He was just a soldier doing his duty. The Queen wants to see you, Cole continued. She insisted on it before she would let the doctors treat her wounds. Will you come? Of course, sir. They found Queen Sarith in a medical bay, surrounded by Valkyrie doctors and guards. Her wounds had been treated and bandaged. She looked tired but alert. When she saw Jake, she dismissed everyone else from the room except for Captain Kelthris. Lieutenant Morrison, she said, sit down before you fall down. Those ribs must hurt terribly. Jake carefully lowered himself into a chair. I have had worse, Your Majesty. I doubt that. She studied him quietly for a moment. Do you understand what you did today, Lieutenant? I protected you, Your Majesty. That was my assignment. You did far more than that. When my own people abandoned me, you stayed. A human stood beside a Valkyrie queen and fought against impossible odds. Do you know what that will mean to both our peoples? Jake had not thought about the larger implications. He had just reacted to the situation in front of him. Stories of today will spread, the Queen continued. Stories of the human who would not abandon his duty even when death was certain. Stories of the Queen and the soldier who stood together against hatred and fear. These stories will help our people see each other differently. I hope so, Your Majesty. I know so. She looked at Captain Kelthris. My captain here has learned an important lesson today. Have you not, Kelthris? The guard captain stood stiffly. His scales were still pale with shame. Yes, Your Majesty. I have learned that honor and courage are not limited to one species. I have learned that judging others by their appearance or origin is foolish. And I have learned that Lieutenant Morrison is a warrior worthy of respect. Good. The Queen seemed satisfied. Then perhaps some good has come from this terrible day. A nurse came in and insisted that Jake go to the hospital immediately. His broken ribs needed proper treatment. Jake reluctantly agreed. But before he left, the Queen called him back. Lieutenant Morrison, when this summit is over and you return to your duties, remember this day. Remember that you made a choice to stand for what was right, even when it seemed hopeless. That is the kind of choice that changes the galaxy. I will remember, Your Majesty, Jake promised. That as the medical staff took him away. Jake thought about everything that had happened. He had come to this station thinking his job was simple. Protect the Queen, help the peace talks succeed, stay out of the way of the Valkyrie guards. Instead, he had stopped an assassination attempt. He had earned the respect of warriors who had despised him, and he had stood beside an alien queen in battle, fighting for a future where humans and Valkyrie could live in peace. Maybe Ambassador Cole was right. Maybe what happened today would make a difference. 3 days after the attack, the peace talks concluded with a historic treaty. 17 people had died and dozens more were wounded, but the violence had not stopped the negotiations. If anything, the attacks had made both sides more determined to succeed. The treaty gave both humans and Valkyrie equal mining rights in the Tertius Belt. Joint stations would be built where both species could work together. Trade agreements were signed to share technology and resources. Cultural exchange programs were established so young people from both civilizations could learn about each other, and most importantly, formal peace was declared between the Valkyrie Ascendancy and humanity. Jake watched the signing ceremony from his usual position along the wall. His ribs were wrapped in medical tape and bandages. The doctors had wanted him to stay in bed for another week, but he refused. He would not leave his post until the Queen was safely back on her ship. After the ceremony ended, Queen Sareth requested a private meeting with Jake. This time no guards were present. She had specifically asked to speak with him alone. They met in an observation deck that looked out at the stars. The same room where Jake had first received his assignment, though it felt like a lifetime ago rather than just 2 weeks. Lieutenant Morrison, the Queen began. I wish to give you something, Your Majesty. There is no need. There is every need. She produced a small crystal object, roughly 6-sided, that glowed with internal light. This is the Star of Kill. It is the highest honor my people can give to a warrior. Only 3 have been awarded in the last century, all to Valkyrie who died protecting the royal family. Jake stared at the crystal. He could feel the weight of what she was offering. Your Majesty, I cannot accept this. I am not Valkyrie, no. You are human. That is exactly why you must accept it. She pressed the crystal into his hands. For too long our peoples have focused only on our differences, but you showed us that honor, loyalty, and courage exist in all species. You stayed when my own guards ran away. You fought beside me as an equal. You risked everything for duty and principle. Jake felt the crystal's smooth surface. It was warm to the touch, almost alive. Your Majesty, I just could not leave you alone. I know, and that is why you deserve this honor. She stepped back and bowed to him in the formal Valkyrie way. A queen bowing to a simple soldier. You have my gratitude, Lieutenant Morrison. And more than that, you have my respect. Jake carefully returned the bow. The honor is mine, Your Majesty. Truly. As Queen Saruth turned to leave, she paused at the doorway. I have made a request to your government, Lieutenant. I ask that you be assigned as my permanent liaison officer. When future negotiations or cultural exchanges require my presence, I would feel most secure with you attending as well. I would be honored, Your Majesty. Good. I think we will see each other again soon. A hint of amusement entered her voice. And perhaps next time my guards will remember to stay at their posts. Later that evening, Jake found Captain Kelthris in the tactical center. The guard captain was reviewing security arrangements for the Queen's departure. Captain, Jake greeted him. Kelthris turned. His expression was difficult to read. Lieutenant Morrison, I heard about the Star of Kill. You have achieved something no human has ever done before. I did not do it for awards or honors. I know. That is what makes you worthy. Kelthris was quiet for a moment. I owe you an apology, human. When we first met, I saw you as weak and inferior. I was completely wrong. You were following your instincts, Captain. Your duty was to protect the Queen. My duty was to stay with her no matter what happened. You understood that better than I did. Kelthris looked Jake in the eye. I have much to learn about humans. Perhaps you could teach me, when our duties allow it. Jake held out his hand in the human gesture of friendship. I would like that very much, Captain. Kelthris studied the offered hand. Then he gripped it firmly. His handshake was incredibly strong, but Jake did not flinch or pull away. You are stronger than you look, human. Kelthris noted. There might have been approval in his voice. So are you, Captain, Jake replied with a slight smile. The next morning, Jake stood at attention on the docking platform. The Valkyrie guards formed their traditional honor formation, but Captain Kelthris had placed Jake at the center. This was the position of highest trust and respect. As Queen Sareth walked past, she paused in front of Jake. Until we meet again, Lieutenant Morrison. Until then, Your Majesty, safe travels. The shuttle departed smoothly, accelerating into space. Jake watched it go until it disappeared from view. The Star of Kelena was secured in a case on his uniform, a constant reminder of everything that had happened. Ambassador Cole approached him. The diplomat looked pleased and satisfied. Quite an adventure, Lieutenant. That is one way to describe it, sir. You know this is just the beginning, right? That treaty we signed will take years to implement fully. Cultural exchanges, joint military operations, shared research projects. We will need people who understand both sides. People like you. Jake nodded slowly. I am starting to understand that, sir. Good, because the Queen was not the only one who noticed what you did. Command wants to create a new division, interspecies, relations, and security. They want you to help build it from the ground up. The idea was both frightening and exciting. When do I start? After you take some time off. Doctor's orders and mine. Cole put his hand on Jake's shoulder carefully, avoiding his injured ribs. Go home, Lieutenant. Visit your family. Rest and heal. You have earned it. Jake did go home. He spent 2 weeks with his parents on Earth, enjoying simple pleasures like home-cooked meals and sleeping in his old room. Then he visited his sister on Mars. She was proud of him and wanted to hear every detail of what happened at the summit. But even as Jake enjoyed being with family, his mind kept returning to the stars, to the treaty that needed protection and support, to the friendship he had begun with Captain Kelthris, and to the alien queen who had shown him that different species could work together if they had courage and determination. 6 months later, Lieutenant Jake Morrison returned to active duty. His new title was Director of the Human Valkyrie Joint Security Initiative. His office was aboard Unity Station, a brand new facility built specifically to serve as a hub for cooperation between the two species. His first official act was approving Captain K's application to join the initiative as Deputy Director. The Valkyrie warrior had resigned his position in the Royal Guard to take this job. When Jake asked him why, Kelthris had simply said that he wanted to help build the future they had fought. For Jake's second act was reviewing security protocols for Queen Sareth's upcoming visit to Earth. She would be the first Valkyrie royal to set foot on humanity's homeworld. The visit was both symbolic and practical, cementing the new relationship between their peoples. As Jake stood in his new office, looking out at the stars, he thought about that moment in the smoke-filled corridor, the moment when everyone else had run away and he had chosen to stay. It had seemed like such a simple decision at the time, just a soldier doing his duty, but that one decision had changed everything. It had earned him the respect of warriors who once despised him. It had saved a queen's life and preserved the peace talks. It had shown both humans and Valkyrie that they could trust each other, even in the worst circumstances. Jake touched the Star of Kellanor on his uniform. The crystal glowed softly under his fingers, warm and alive. Sometimes the smallest choices have the biggest consequences. Sometimes staying when others flee, standing when others fall, and believing when others doubt can change the course of history. And sometimes one human willing to stand between danger and an alien queen can light the way toward a better future for everyone. The comm system on Jake's desk beeped. Director Morrison, Captain Kelthris is here for your morning briefing. Send him in, Jake replied. The door opened and Kelthris entered. The Valkyrie warrior had adapted to his new role quickly. He wore a uniform that combined elements of both human and Valkyrie military dress, symbolizing their new partnership. Good morning, Director, Kelthris said. He still struggled sometimes with informal human customs. Good morning, Captain. Please, sit down. As they reviewed the day's schedule and discussed preparations for the Queen's visit, Jake felt a sense of satisfaction. This was what he had fought for. This moment of cooperation and mutual respect between two species that had been enemies for so long. The work ahead would not be easy. There were still people on both sides who opposed peace. Cultural misunderstandings would cause problems. Old prejudices would take time to fade. But Jake had seen what was possible when people chose courage over fear, when they chose to stand together instead of apart. Captain Kelthris, Jake said suddenly, do you ever think about that day at Frontier Station? When the attack happened, Kelthris was quiet for a moment. Every day, Director, it was the worst moment of my life. And also the moment I learned the most important lesson. What lesson was that? That true strength is not about size or weapons or even combat skill. True strength is about character, about staying loyal when it is easier to run, about doing what is right even when it costs you everything. Kelthris looked directly at Jake. You taught me that, human, and I will never forget it. Jake smiled. We taught each other, Captain.